Hello everybody. Today we are going to deal with the topic freezing. So what do you know about freezing? We can say a kind of a commodity like fish or any other kinds of food product. We can say it's especially a fish. It is not always possible to maintain its freshness throughout a particular kind of a day. But with the help of this freezing and cold storage, it will always help to maintain or it will always help to retain its freshness throughout a particular period of time. So freezing simply means it's a method of arresting either partially or fully the deteriorative actions of microorganisms and enzymes by lowering the temperature to convert most of the fluids that is further being present inside that particular fish body that into the product, that particular product into ice. It simply means we are converting a fluid which is further being present inside the fish body into ice with the help of by certain kinds of deteriorative actions like microorganisms and enzymes. So it is the kind of arresting them and then further converting the liquid inside them into the ice. So we can say the water in the fish flesh begins to freeze at -1 degree Celsius, and at -5 degrees Celsius, which is said that almost 20% of the water remains frozen, but we can say about 10% of the raw water remains frozen at even -30 degrees Celsius. And when focusing on the freezing rate, we can say there are three major stages in the case of fish freezing. In the stage 1, we can say the temperature in the fish body or in the fish flesh, it starts to rapidly fall below 0 degrees Celsius. In the stage 2, we can say that the temperature comes between -1 and -5 degrees Celsius, and this period is what is called as thermal arrest period. Now, in the stage 3, we can say again the temperature rapidly falls below 0. And we can say for getting a very good frozen product, all we need to do is that the thermal arrest period should be done as quickly as possible. Now, focusing on the freezing rate, it has always been dependent or determined on the thickness of the particular fish flesh, and it has always been different in 3 different types of freezing. For example, in slow freezing, we can say it takes a freezing rate or the time is actually, or the freezing rate is further being measured in millimeter. It takes 2 mm per hour. And in the case of quick freezing, it takes 5 to 30 mm per hour. In the case of rapid freezing, it takes 50 to 100 mm per hour. Now, next we are going to deal with different types of freezers commonly being used in the fish processing units. There are various types of freezers available, but here I'm going to discuss about a very few types of freezers which is commonly being used. And the first type is a shark freezers. It is typically a kind of a room where that particular room is further being filled with the temperature of below 18 degrees Celsius, but maintaining a kind of time duration of about 3 to 72 hours depending on the conditions or the size of the particular product. And we can say it's always been depending on the freezing food, that what type of food is further used, or which type of fish or what kind of a product is further being used. And the main disadvantage or the main drawback of this is that this is further being following a very slow freezing, that it takes a very huge amount of time for a particular kind of a food to get freezed. Now, next is air blast freezer. Unlike the shark freezer, we can say it's usually been in the form of a tunnel where it fully take advantage of the heat transfer effectiveness of rapidly circulating air inside them. And this air blast freezers is mainly of two types. We can say continuous air blast freezer and we can say the batch air blast freezer. And the temperature used in this freezer always ranges between 0 to -30 degrees Celsius, and the speed or the air velocity inside them is 30 to 1050 meters. Now, next is contact plate freezer. In the name itself, it is very clear. This kind of freezer have a particular kind of contact with that of the food, where a metal plates and a heat extracted by direct conduction to the plates through which that particular refrigerant is further being using its circulation. And the distance between the plates can be further being varied up to 100 mm or more. And this freezer is commonly being used for freezing shrimp, squid, and minced fillet. And we can say this is the other name of this is also called the plate freezers. They are of mainly two types, horizontal and vertical, which plays a very important role in common and every type of fish processing units. So among them, the first one is vertical plate freezer. As the name denotes itself, we can say that the fish product or the commodity that we are trying to freeze is always being placed in a vertical compartment or like this, a vertical compartment or a kind of a can in which the particular freezing product is further being loaded. And the freezer design is further being to block freeze food without or little pre-handling directly on site. And we can say in simple words, we can say it's a one easy kind of operation, and it has always been usable for the products like fish, shellfish, meat, poultry, vegetables, fruits, liquids, etc., and certain kinds of pet food also. But in simple ways, we can say it's always been useful for vegetables or fruits. Now, in the case of horizontal plate freezers, we can say this is a vertical and horizontal. So, horizontal means a horizontal kind of a narrow, a hollow or a kind of a parallel place will be further being placed against the refrigerant passes, where a particular kind of air passes into it. And we can say there is a circulating kind of refrigerant further being placed, or a hollow metal plates is further being placed. And we can say here, we can say all the other kinds of products can be further being placed, like for example fish, meat, poultry, vegetables, etc. can be further being used. And the main advantage is that it's having a very low operating cost, or the operation cost. Now, next is immersion freezing or the freezer. It's a kind of freezer, as from the name itself we can think what kind of a freezer it is, where a particular kind of a product is further being immersed in a very low temperature liquid which further absorbs the heat from it. The major advantage is that it's having a very close contact with the refrigeration medium. So because of that, the heat transfer is very high. But the major drawbacks that we have to be concerned while using this kind of immersion freezers is that the temperature has to be maintained very carefully, and it is very difficult to keep the medium from any other kinds of dirt or contamination, that we need to be that much careful about it. And the refrigeration medium, it should be further being edible and capable of remaining unfrozen at minus 18 degrees Celsius and slightly below. And the solutions primarily being used in here is sugar, glycerol, and sodium chloride. Now, next is tunnel freezers. So, as the name denotes, we can say it will be always in the form of a tunnel, but a racks or a trolleys can be further being placed inside, and there will be a gap between these trolleys so that there is a sufficient passage of air which is further being taken inside of them. And the product to be frozen is further being also being passed through a kind of a belt, and the circulating cold air that is mainly at high speed enables the product to be frozen at moderately rapid rate. And it has always been popular for using IQF. IQF means individual cube freezing, or the frozen products like shrimps. Now, next is liquid nitrogen freezing. In the case of liquid nitrogen freezing, they are very colorless and odorless. We can say it has always been done with the help of a perforated belt. And the major highlights of this kind of freezers is the gaseous nitrogen and liquid nitrogen spray, where we can say that the products are further being initially cooled by the gaseous nitrogen, and then it is further being frozen by the liquid nitrogen spray. And we can say this affords a very kind of or a flexible kind of freezing. We can say it's commonly been applied in majority of the freezing units or kinds of an industries. Or we can say, when compared with other kinds of freezers, this further provides a very good kind of a product outcome with a very neat and safe and hygienic kinds of product. Now, next is fluidified bed freezers. So this is actually a modification of the air blast freezer, which we had learned in the previous slides. We can say that the temperature here further varies, or is for constantly being maintained between minus 25 degrees Celsius and minus 30 degrees Celsius, with a high speed velocity, or kind of a speed of 2 to 6 m per second. And we can say there we are further kept a belt or a conveyor or something is further being, mainly a belt or a conveyor is further being kept. And we can say that the product to be frozen is further being individually suspended in the upward direction, where a particular kind of a flowing cold air stream of the freezing tunnel, and hence the best possible heat is further being achieved, because there is a direct contact between the air and the product. And we can say in this method, each and every product is individually frozen, and so there is a separate kind of advantage for that too. And the freezing, if we are freezing a very small fishes like shrimp or any other kinds of small fishes, it takes a very small amount of time, which simply means we can be able to quickly get a kind of a product within, or a frozen product within a short span of time. Now, the last one is cryogenic freezing. As the name denotes, we can say the cryogenic freezers use solid. Here, the very two important components is the solid or the liquid carbon dioxide or liquid nitrogen. So, it's actually carbon dioxide and nitrogen, but solid or liquid carbon dioxide and liquid nitrogen is commonly being used in this method, where it is further being directly in contact with the food, and the refrigeration is obtained as a pre-cooled substance. Cryogenic freezers, as we have to note about the fact that it's further uses carbon dioxide, liquid nitrogen or freon. And we can say it is characterized by a change of state in the refrigerant or cryogen, as heat is further being absorbed from the freezing product. And the major advantage of this is that there is a very low initial investment or cost for this, but the disadvantage is that there is a very high operating cost for this. So that's all about it. Thank you.